Hello everyone, my name is VoidDoctor, and welcome back to another episode on the InfinityCraft server. And today, we begin this episode in the storage hall that I constructed last episode. A few minor modifications since last episode. I added this carpet here just to conceal some glowstone. There it is. A couple pieces of glowstone just to light up this bottom floor, considering that it was pretty dark. And we're now in 1.18, which also means I don't have access to Optifine, so this video might be coming out a bit later than I at first thought it would be, because I was expecting this video to only take a couple of days, but it turns out this, not having Optifine zoom or shaders really sets back recording. However, it seems that they've been releasing Optifine updates for the pre-releases pretty consistently. The last couple days, I actually think a pre-release update came out with pre-release 1 yesterday, so it should be coming out within the next week or so. I surely hope it does, because I basically just can't record time lapses until I have access to shaders again, which means access to Optifine as well. So I think the first project we're going to work on this episode, actually, the first thing I'd like to get done this episode is I've done a little bit of bartering with Raine, who lives over just over there, and he actually lives in this town. He just lives in a house right over there, right, the big darker roof. Anyway, I did a little bit of bartering with him and managed to get my hands on a netherite ingot. So I think I'm going to add this to my pickaxe. I've done a small amount of enchanting to my, to my regular pickaxe, and oh boy, it's very good now. I basically just rolled a really lucky enchantment, and he had an efficiency 5 villager. So yeah, I think we're going to get a smithing table. Oh, I forgot that I put one of these in here. Yeah, so I don't know why I'm adding netherite to my pickaxe. Don't ask me, but I think that's the first thing we're going to do this episode, is just make this pickaxe. This is now my first netherite item, and it's a pickaxe. It's a lot of people are shaking their heads right now because, sword would have probably made more sense, but I do a lot more mining and building than I do fighting, so I think it would just make sense for me to have my pickaxe be netherite instead of my sword. But the next thing I want to work on is the bamboo farm that we built last episode. By the way, glass looks super strange without connected textures. The bamboo farm that we built last episode, it's producing very well, and I'm very happy with this design. So I'd like to build a sugarcane farm on the back of it so we can get paper as well for rockets in the future, but currently I'm just wanting paper so we can trade with the librarians over there. So I think I'm just going to add my one concern is that this will, actually end up, just to build these kind of connected. I was trying to find a way to explain this. Just to build these connected, I'd probably just reuse this redstone wire, otherwise it would make it it wouldn't make it compact, it would make it very bulky. But sugarcane grows slower than bamboo, which means we'd probably be running into issues where the sugarcane was being harvested before it was at 3 blocks, and vice versa, although the bamboo would probably already be at 3 blocks by the time the sugarcane was at 3 blocks. So it's just going to be a bit more inefficient, I guess, because it's going to be connected to a farm that's full of a lot faster crops. But yeah, I guess we'll just start working on the sugarcane farm. And we can actually just reuse this. We can basically reuse this bamboo farm design. All I'm going to need to do is... Oh, and by the way, I did change the collection system on this. But all I'm going to need to do is place water right here. So just build a little chamber for the water to be. But I don't think that should interfere with it connecting to the... With the sugarcane farm connected to the bamboo. I don't think we should run out of space there. That shouldn't be an issue. And now that we're on 1.17, it also really brings to light the 10 chunk render distance that we have set on this server. Basically, this server, it's already, I'm just running the server through a hosting service, and it's already fairly laggy. But if we try to have a 16 chunk render distance, this server is just unplayable. So the maximum render, or just the most convenient render distance, just to have the least lag, is 10 chunks, which does make it so that when you have fog on, it really makes your view distance just tiny. But it does make the server a lot more playable than with a much higher render distance. Alright folks, so I've got the materials for this farm all ready, and yeah, so now I think it's just time that we start constructing this farm. It's super simple, it's just the same design. I'm just really excited to have just a renewable source of sugarcane. And unfortunately with this item collection system design, I have no way of expanding the size of this farm, which is expanding it vertically. I can expand it horizontally, but I can't expand it vertically. But I think by the time we did more than this many sticks, I think we have a problem. So, yeah. I don't think we're going to need a larger farm, at least for bamboo, anytime soon. Just realized this is most certainly not enough observers. Alright, so I've gotten most of the farm linked up, and I can confirm, yes, they unfortunately are linked via this redstone line. For a second, I was wondering why the observers weren't doing anything, those observers, and then I remembered, wait, they're not observing the redstone line, so that's, I'm not smart with redstone. Alrighty then, so the, Sugarcane Farm is finished, along with the bamboo farm, but that was finished last episode. And just gonna say something before we progress on to the rest of the episode. Last episode, it took quite a while to make and especially construct this, and the episode totally flopped. So if you're feeling kind with your time, if you're feeling generous with your time, you go check out last episode right after you finish watching this, because not much of there's nothing in this episode isn't going to make sense if you didn't watch it last episode, but it would still be awesome if you watched last episode. But back to the sugarcane farm. It's produced a total of nothing. It's produced a total of 2 sugarcane, but I think that was probably just from this growing, and then these just kind of firing and knocking down whatever was at 2. But yeah, so it hasn't been the most productive, but again, sugarcane grows at like some stupidly slow rate, so I think I'm just gonna AFK for a while, probably a couple hours, and then we'll come back and see how much it's made. Alright folks, so this thing's been running for like 25 minutes, yeah, like 20 or 25 minutes now, and it's only produced 1 sugarcane, and I've been AFKing in my storage hall right there in that corner of the room. So I'd assume the reason why it's not really functioning very well is because it's connected to the bamboo farm, which means it's just harvesting crops way too early. So I think what I'm going to have to do is completely tear down the entire sugarcane farm and just start again, moving it, just sliding it this way. It will also mean that this nice just 3 logs will have to become but that doesn't really matter that much. What does matter, however, is the fact that this is barely functioning at all. I really I'm not proving my point very well right now, but it's definitely slower than it should be. It's because it should be just running on its own clock. It's like trying to run a farm on just a regular redstone clock. It's just so inefficient. So I'm just gonna slide it this way, and then we'll continue AFKing after that's done. Alrighty then, so so far the farm has produced about a stack and a half, but I actually had to slide this section 2 blocks this direction. I don't exactly know what direction that is. I need to fix that, because having them connected was just too inefficient. Because bamboo grows so much faster than sugarcane, we're getting so many harvested when they were only at 2 blocks tall, and it was just super inefficient. So I slid them 2 blocks this way. If I had slid it 1 block this way, they'd still be touching, and that would result in these pistons still firing when these observers fired. So I just slid it 2 blocks so there was a little gap in between them. But the next thing I'd like to do is actually to celebrate the release of 1.18 for the Java edition of Minecraft. I don't know when it comes out on Bedrock, but at least for Java edition, 1.18 is now out, or Caves and Cliffs Part 2. So I've sort of constructed this mine off camera, this just simple kind of stylized mine, and I'd like this to be my permanent mine, but there's a very low likelihood that this will be my permanent mine because it's very tricky to get down, and it's also just kind of funky. It's just more tricky to get up and down than a normal mine. However, just to celebrate the release of 1.18, I have constructed this kind of special little mine just so I can go down. Whoa, my voice just cracked. Go down way beneath the surface and see what's down there. If I ever make a compilation of worst moments on camera, that may be one of them. Alright, so we've hit the deep slate layer, and yeah, it's deep slate, and yeah, so that signifies that we're like, I should probably just check my F3 coordinates, to be honest. Can't believe I didn't think to do that. Yeah, we're at Y7, so I'm nearing the bottom of the world. Make sure we're at 1, and considering that there's no bedrock now, yeah, the bedrock's been moved down. Okay, this is extremely exciting news. It means that there's 64 new blocks of underground space to mine. Yeah, we're now in the negative coordinates, and there are still blocks down here. Which means we have... Oh my gosh, I forgot those existed. Okay, after that deeply unsettling noise, so this means we get all the new 1.18 caves with, I'm pretty sure, the 1.17 ore generation, but also the 1.18 ore generation, which means I don't know if this is true or not, but I think we just duplicated diamonds, because there's obviously, because I'm hoping there's still diamonds at Y11, right? But then there's also the chance that there's now, if it's possible, or maybe they got rid of the diamonds at Y11, I don't know. But now there's potentially diamonds lower in the world under Y equals 0 and in the negative Y values. Imagine how cool this is going to be. We can just duplicate diamonds. I'm not sure if that's how it's going to work. We'll have to do a bit of exploration for that. Maybe next episode or in a future episode. But currently, this is insane. So I think I'm going to go try and hit up one of the caves down underneath the, down in the negative Y values and just kind of explore for a little bit and, record along the way. Well, folks, what? Okay then, yeah, at first I thought this was glow-like, and I'm like, oh, it's probably just glow-like, and then I look for a second time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's diamonds. So these are our first diamonds of InfinityCraft Season 2, so not one, okay, it's very kind of you, World Generation. So these are our first diamonds of the 1.18 update. 3 of them here, not bad at all. And got more than 37 with our fortune pickaxe, and up here 4. Oh man, that's 23 diamonds. Not bad at all for 2 veins. That vein seemed like it was a lot more than 8, but I wasn't counting the second one. I was just kind of busy looking for, or I was kind of busy mining them. I wasn't actually counting how many blocks there were. So yeah, I think I'm just going to continue exploring and hope that I don't burn alive right now. Oh gosh. Oh no. Okay, I did not burn alive like a giant human-shaped hot dog. That's good. And now we're burning again. Great. I was about to record a clip about how I wasn't seeing any more blue shinies other than lapis, and then I'd stumble upon this little, well, gem, I guess. Let's see, how many is this? 2. Okay, not bad. 3. Alright, that's not bad at all. Just making sure there's nothing in the ceiling or anything. Seems like there isn't. Alright, 3. Not bad at all. Let's see. How much does that make our current diamond count? 29. That is really impressive. It's crazy what only Fortune 2 can do for you. I mean, yeah, Fortune 3 is better, but is it all that necessary? Okay, yes, it is. All I can think to say right now is, what? This, what? And folks, no, this is not at all, this isn't, like, staged or anything. This is actual, I legitimately just walking around and finding diamonds. These caves are littered with the blue shiny. You know, I'm just gonna pretend I never saw that. I can't pretend I never saw that. Never mind. Alright, so I'd say this was a really successful, if not very short, mining session. It was only about, I'd say, a half an hour. But, turns out, got quite a few diamonds and quite a few other resources from this mining trip. So, I think I'm going to be visiting sub y = 0 more often now that I know how many diamonds these caves are holding. And, handy side effect of having gone on this mining trip is that the valuables chest is actually looking quite valuable now, with 31 diamonds and 5 extra, just creating the little sorting row. Alright everyone, this is some very exciting news. So for anyone who's just returning to the game, or after a long break from not playing Minecraft, or has never played Minecraft before and is just getting into it, Mojang mid-2019 actually added beehives and bees to the game. So I was just trying to plant a tree here to sort of add some greenery to my, just my sort of farmhouse out here, and it actually spawned with a beehive, which is pretty rare. So I put a campfire underneath it, and I've just been harvesting the bee wax, or I forget what it's called, but the honey wax, I forget what it's called, but so it spawned with a beehive, and what you can do when you put a campfire underneath it is you can actually break the beehive without having to worry about the bees getting mad at you. And if you do it without the campfire, they'll generally get mad at you. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the tree like this, but I think the beehive just looks a bit awkward on here. So I think I'm going to put the beehive somewhere like maybe right here, sort of not right on the path, but sort of near the animals and the other, livestock. So we're going to break this. Oh, I thought they weren't supposed to get mad at you. That's not good. And if you let them sting you, then they will die after a while. So we have to wait for this little bee to pacify again before we can. And the other problem is that if they don't have a hive for long enough, they will die as well. So we don't want to lose the bees. We do have a baby bee, but we don't want to lose the bees because that would be very tragic. Okay, they've all pacified again. So, this doesn't feel quite right. Oh, I know what I can do, actually. Hold on. Give me a sec. Alright, so, just the finishing touch on this. I'm gonna add a little spout there. Oh, it crafted 2. I was like, why do I still have that? Yeah, so we're just add a little spout right there, kind of making it look like maybe you can drain the honey. I don't know if that's how beehives work. I've never seen a beehive before in person, but, I think you can add a spout. And I don't know, maybe it doesn't work like maple syrup, but I'd assume you can add a spout to the beehive. So the bees are now living in there all nice and content, and now my frame rate is definitely dropping for no apparent reason, but yeah, this is just a very exciting intermission in this episode. Alright, but the next thing I'd like to work on in this episode, and actually the last thing I'd like to work on in this episode, is actually sort of figuring out a build style for our lovely town over there, and also planning out the locations of houses. So sort of building what one of the sort of just stock, not a sort of more of a specialized build would be, but just sort of like a house, because I don't think I want to have a lot of these standard village houses. Although something I do whenever I modify a vanilla village is I always keep one house in basically unmodified, so that house has never been modified, and I'm planning on keeping it that way, just a standard house. But what I'd like to do is replace most of these standard village houses with more custom, definitely more detailed houses. So I think this space would be a very just prime real estate. It's large enough just to sort of test out what a house would look like for this village and sort of get a build palette and sort of like a style going. Because right now we have Raisin Mine's house, which is sort of like, again, a sort of specialized build. We have sort of like watchtower down there to house some villagers, and we have our librarians. So it's not like we have a super standardized build style yet, but I think once we get into the once we get the houses going, it should be we should have more of a standardized, sort of simplified build style that isn't something super complicated, but definitely has a sort of theme and definitely is still very detailed. And yes, I did build most of these villager houses off camera. I didn't feel like it was super necessary to put on camera, since you can find better tutorials for this online, like how to house villagers. And it's also, these are just temporary establishments. In the future, I'd like to have much larger houses for our villagers, but these are just builds that I kind of did off camera, just quick little builds that I sort of whipped up. So yeah, let's get working on these houses. Alright, so I've sort of gathered together a block palette of all the materials I think I'll be using in this sort of house, except for things that I don't need to have out here because I already know what they'll look like here, sort of like glass, and then all like the stair variants of these blocks. But I have all like the main sort of variants of these blocks that I think will potentially be going into this house. I will probably stick to one family of wood, or maybe use one. I will probably not be using both sets of logs, and I will probably be using spruce stripped logs more than bark logs with the bark on them for the standard houses, sort of like the just the residential houses, sort of like we have here on Raisin Mine's house, because it's just a bit I think it's a bit softer of a tone, although these can add quite a lot of contrast if I want to have more contrast in a build. But I think these definitely look more natural in a, in a sort of residential environment. Sort of, I kind of like the contrast here, but I think these will probably fit in. I think the strip logs will probably fit in more with the spruce planks. So I think I'm gonna sort of build the foundation and the bottom floor, and then I'll, see what this looks like, or see what the bottom floor looks like, and then we'll move on to the top floor and the sort of details in the roof and things. Alright, folks, so I've gotten most of the, actually all of the foundation sort of laid out. I haven't gotten it completely built up yet because I haven't gotten, any of the floor done, but I've gotten all of the foundation walls pretty much built up, and also the pillars, and I've gotten the windows in place and the door frames. However, I still can't decide whether I want to have the door like this, sort of right here, symmetrical, or just even on each side, or like this, sort of off to one side. I don't want to put it here because it would look strange next to this window, but at least here it has some space between the door and the window, and it just looks, actually I just realized I can't put it here because it's exactly where the window is. So I don't like the look of it being right in the middle of this pillar, not pillar, this arch, quite as much as I do right on the side. So I think I'm gonna have the door on the side. Then I also have a back door here, so that when I construct a road here, or potentially just link it up to this road here, you'll have some way to get to this road back here without just having to go all the way around the house or take another road. So you can kind of just go straight through the house. But oh, this is not good. What I'd like to work on next is well, the second floor, and then also I'd like the area, sort of these first 3 blocks here, so like this, and this, to sort of be a balcony of sorts. So this, whoever lives here could look off potentially this way. They wouldn't be able to look this way because I'm obviously going to have a house here, because I did have to take out the village house that was here, but I will have a house here in the future, so they could look off at the lake over there, or the river over there, and sort of get some nice views in this balcony. So I think that's the next thing I'm going to work on, is sort of building up the second floor, and then I'll work on the roof last because that's my least favorite part of building anything. This place is also being surrounded by incoming zombies. Alright folks, so I finished the upper floor of the house, and I've also centered the door on this arch so I could put these fence posts here, because I just think it adds a bit more detail to the door frame. And then I also finished the upper floor, so I could see this being, this could be spruce as well. I could see it going either way in future, but just currently for this build, I'm gonna have it be white wool to sort of add a bit of contrast versus the rest of the very sort of darker blocks like spruce. And then I also kind of finished this balcony, and I used lecterns because, while you're sitting here, it doesn't look great, but when you're on the ground, which I think this house is going to be viewed from the most, you're not really going to see the the actual lectern texture. You're just going to see like a sort of oak texture. So I think it adds a nice sort of railing to the whole balcony. And then each of these posts are just more strip logs with gates in between them, sort of adding a bit of texture rather than fence posts, which have like the actual post to them. Gates just kind of look like they're kind of a continuous sort of strip of, I don't know, maybe a wooden chain almost. That's kind of what it looks like to me. But so yeah, I think now I'm gonna work on the roof, and then that'll be it. So see you guys after I'm done with the roof. The roof, I hate doing roofs. It's really bad. I don't like doing roofs. Like, it's becoming a problem that I have. I really just despise making roofs. And also, yes, if you just heard a jingling sound, that was my cat's collar. Okay, so I've finished the roof of this house, and it's actually the next day now, and I'm actually really liking how this place is looking. It's not looking, super realistic medieval, but I just think the block palette is not super sort of fantasy, sort of like, I feel like that's a bit more fantasy because it uses, just the whole build style is a bit more, fantastic. This is sort of a bit more realistic, and, yes, so I really like how this whole place came together, but, and I'm actually really happy with how this upper floor came out as well. I've already started kind of adding a bit of just support structure. So I added the rafters, and I actually, Raisin had a stroke of genius. He hid lanterns in the rafters. Oh, and yes, we now have Optifine, which is great. He hid lanterns in the rafters, sort of to act as lighting, but it's a little bit dimmed by the rafters, so the lighting is a bit more dim in here than it would be, and then it would be okay in 1.17, but now in 1.18. Mobs don't spawn unless the light level is below 0, or is 0. So now we can kind of have dim, sort of more realistic lighting. I'm not going to say, that I'm going to have super dark lighting, but just maybe a bit more dim lighting, maybe a bit more moody lighting now. But the next thing that I'd like to work on with this build is adding a sort of like a realistic interior, not like a functional Minecraft interior with storage and things, but an interior with something like this, like a table, and then candles maybe, and then down here again like a dining table. So something a bit more realistic and less sort of Minecrafty, something a bit more form over function. So I think I'm gonna begin working on a sort of interior of this building, and I will kind of go step by step through this sort of as I sort of figure out how I'm gonna build an interior, because I've never really built an aesthetic interior for a build. I've always just kind of done functional sort of furnaces, crafting tables, storage, that kind of stuff, not like a little dining table and a realistic bedroom and things. So yeah, I think I'm gonna begin working on this interior, which is probably gonna be the most painful thing of this build, even worse than the roof, because I am not great with interior design. So yeah. Alright, so I thought that this little alcove in the main, like off of the main room, would actually be a great place to have the kitchen on the main floor, on the bottom floor. So I kind of just put a smoker and a furnace here, this for like cooking meats, and this for, I don't know what you do with a regular furnace in a kitchen, but, and then I just have a little cable here, like a little table here with a candle on top, yeah, just a single candle, so to sort of add some mood lighting and keep this place spawn proof. I hope. I sure do hope this place is spawn proof with that, or this kitchen is spawn proof with that one candle. But I guess we'll see. Alrighty then. So I've got this little dining room table sort of set up in the corner here, and I actually used a iron trapdoor as a plate. I was originally going to use carpet, but I just think the trapdoor just looks slightly nicer. So I used an iron trapdoor. I know it's a pretty common building technique, but I think with the candles here, it just looks a little bit more realistic. And the chairs. The chairs not like just all in one side, sort of unevenly placed. So yeah, I think I might add a few other things in here, and then I'm going to move on to the upstairs floor and the balcony. That balcony might not have any interior on it, though. Alright, so I finished the downstairs floor, I finished the interior, the downstairs floor of this house, and I actually really like how this whole place came together. You got a little rug right here, maybe like a skin or something, like a polar bear skin or something. I know that's not what Mojang would want me to do, since, let's just say it's a nice wool rug. And then I got a couple of coat hooks here in case, they have whoever lives here as guests over and they want to take their coats off, so they can hang them there. And nothing much else in here. I added this pillar here just to add a bit of separation between sort of like the front of the house and the back of the house. But other than that, not much else is going on in here. So I think we're going to move on up to the upstairs floor and start sort of working on the interior in here. It should be a little bit simpler since it's already kind of dominated by the rafters and things, so I don't think I'm going to need to go with like tiny coat hangers and rugs, but I am going to add maybe a few bookshelves and things of that sort, just little comfort items for whoever lives here. Alrighty then, so I'm finished with the upstairs interior, and I'm actually really happy with how this came out. I'm actually really happy with how the whole house turned out, but I'm really happy with how the upstairs turned out. In here you got this little, another little alcove right above the kitchen. You got the bedroom, got the bed in the corner with the nightstand, and then a little carpet on the ground, so when you get out of bed, your feet stay warm. And over here in this little nook, got some bookshelves. I just think this little nook is perfect for some bookshelves and also just some shelving. Unfortunately, this isn't a full block of space, so I wasn't able to put anything on the shelf, but I still think it looks nice. And then here you got a desk with just a single candle over here, just for some little details. Something to fill the space over there. And then in this corner, just got some shelving with another couple of candles on it, so kind of just to provide some lighting and also just to fill the space. And then now on the patio, I didn't actually add anything. I just sort of left it plain because I think it looks better when it's plain. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with how the whole interior of this build, and I'm actually just really happy with how this whole build turned out. Actually, I just think this is really, I don't know, I just think this is a pretty nice use of space. But now, yeah, now we sort of have like a template for what I would like to have the houses look like. Not all of them, not the same blocks, maybe different stripped logs, or maybe, a different shape. Obviously, we're going to have a different shape. They're not all going to be this shape, but, just sort of a similar sort of style now. And yeah, I'm quite happy with how this turned out. But now what I'd like to do is start to sort of lay out just some basic foundations around the town to sort of, whoa, that's interesting, to sort of figure out where all the other buildings are, or where some of the other buildings are going to be going in the town, and sort of plan out what, where future buildings will be in the town. So yeah, I think I'm just going to lay out some foundations. Okay, folks, so I've laid out a lot of, foundations just out of stone for the houses that I'd like to build in the future. I did not realize this was here, but yeah, so I've kind of got a few like filler houses right here just to basically form a road right here. So in the future, when we construct these houses, I can add a road over here. Got just like another house to sort of fill in this gap here, and then over here got a larger house, and then this, I'm definitely not planning on this being a room. In fact, we could probably just fill this in, because this could be the another sort of balcony, but it could have a stairwell running here. So for example, let me just sort of pretend these are like stair blocks, but you could have like a stairwell leading up to this, and then have this be like a small balcony, and then it would lead into like a side door on the upper stairs floor, or on the upstairs floor. So it's sort of it just adds a bit more dynamic look to the house. Like, it has, two entrances and sort of like a little watch point from the little balcony up here. And these are only a few houses that I plan on adding. These are most certainly not all the houses, but these are just the first few that I plan on adding in the next couple episodes. But I think this is where we are going to leave off today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed, and have a good day. Peace.